So, on the left of your picture, it's South Africa's world champions. World champions in the lightweight double sculls, as we hear the noise of the launch accelerate to try and keep up with these crews. And on the right of your picture, it's the double from Oxford University, rowing as Oxford University and Keble College. And they have got their work cut out here.
Yeah, they have, and I think also this is one of the great things about Henley is it does pit the lightweights against the heavyweights. This never happens, of course, in international racing, but this is the opportunity to see if the technique and skill and the high rating lightweights can take on the greater power, perhaps the more powerful rhythm of the heavyweights. And here it seems to be even Stevens for the first few minutes.
And I'd say that's a great start from the British double. I mean, if you are going to go against the South Africans, well, actually, just take a look. The South Africans in the white boat, they just seem to stretch out there, just lock their blades a little more carefully. And they've moved right back into contention in this race, just 2 or 3 feet down. And I'd say the South Africans are just where they want to be at the moment. On a good station, they're following the booms right down in the white boat. And I think they're going through the British double, closest to you, stroke by stroke.
This part in a rowing race, of course, you're just starting to think about your rhythm. It's going to take you down the track. You might start thinking about the other crew. Up until this point, it'll just be sprint, sprint, sprint. But now you're just starting to take stock, and certainly the South Africans are in a much stronger position than this Oxford pair, both of whom are possibly not natural scullers, more used to rowing with one oar, having competed for Oxford and the Oxford Reserve crew ISIS in this year's boat race.
Of course, Josh Budajski, who's stroke of that crew with the Pete Tack, he's competed in British national trials, not on the top end of them, but he certainly puts his best efforts in the sculling boat against the likes of Charles Cousins and Alan Campbell. Finished 24th in those long distance trials, or the time trials in 2014. Man from Cardiff. As we look at the world champions, what do you make of their style?
I think like most lightweights, they like to rate high, they like to get the strokes in, and of course this, I mean the lightweight men's double, well, the lightweight women's and the lightweight men's double sculls, it's got to be the event that you see the most perfect synchronicity between the crews. There really is the thinnest sheets of paper that separate the medals in this event, as we all know. Of course, Great Britain very successful in this event at the last 2 Olympic Games, winning a gold and a silver in the lightweight men's doubles, and they really were textbook synchronicity in their sculling, Mark Hunter and Zach Purchase. Yes, and of course Hunter and Purchase had to settle for silver in London, where the 2 men at the top of your shot, the South Africans from Pretoria, University of Pretoria, South Africa. James Thompson in the bow seat, John Smith in the stroke seat. Pound for pound, 2 of the best rowers in the world, there's no doubt about that. They lead over the crew from Oxford University. And what's going through my mind is thinking about the Lucerne Regatta. Just a week or so away, because these 2 South Africans will come up against the French, Azou and Delahaye, who have carried all before them this year. And of course the South Africans bettered the French by inches in the World Championship final last year. And with the World Championships in Aiguebelette on Azou and Delahaye's home patch, it's a really important season for them and for South Africa, who want to show the world that their world title can be repeated. So in the lead, the South African world champions, the lightweights, around about 11 stone. And the men from Oxford University, they are heavier, and they briefly led this race, but it was the cultured technique of the Roger Barrow coach crew which took them through, and probably to a likely match-up with the British national double, Collins and Walton, I think. Yeah, that's going to be a fascinating race tomorrow, I think. Of course, again, the British will benefit from being on their home water, their home crowd. They both would have raced here many times before. In fact, falling to a very narrow defeat last year in this event by a few feet. So the South Africans will be fascinating challengers to the Brits tomorrow.
Well, let's not write the Americans off, because the British are coming down at 6 p.m. against the Craftsbury Sculling Centre, Graves and Graves. It's by no means certain that Collins and Walton will get through that race. They have sculled brilliantly this year, but they've missed finals by sort of something like 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 of a second. And they will want to turn that luck, if you call it luck, around. And I think they will have the much harder semi-final later on this afternoon, the British. And to be quite honest, I think it was the finest race I've ever seen at Henley, that double sculls race. It was magnificent all the way down the course. And of course, the British just lost out to two lightweights, the French lightweights, as we pull out. And wow, what a shot that is, as you see down the Henley Reach.
Absolutely incredible. I think it shows us all the people sat on the bank, dangling their feet in the water. You've got people sat on the boats next to the booms. You know, these guys have got front row seats to watch the world and Olympic champions sculling down. What other sport could you do that? What other sport could you turn up for free, bring a picnic and watch some of the greatest athletes in the world race against each other? Henley is completely unique.
Yeah, I know with the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, you have to pay a fortune to get into that, Annie. And if you want to get into Wimbledon too, the tennis, that fantastic tournament going on there, you've got to queue all night. I know some friends that have done that, taken their tents outside. But Henley, you can just rock up, as you say, take your picnic down to the bank, and it's what makes the event so beautiful to be a part of. And the Oxford double there in the foreground of your shots, battling bravely, but the class of the South African world champions really telling. And these two men showing their versatility, the crew in front. First of all, with one blade each as part of the South African four that won Olympic gold back in London 2012. Got ahead of Denmark, I think, in that race. Took the bronze medal.
Credit to the Oxford guys. They've looked pretty good, sculling very well, sculling very smoothly for two guys who probably aren't natural scullers. Most of the rowing at Oxford will be in the sweep boats with one oar, and these guys will have come off very heavy workload preparing for their exams recently. So I think to get this far, all credit to them, and I think we've got two very strong athletes there, but just outclassed by these South Africans, who really are some of the best in the world at their job.
And I was searching for who won the silver in that race. Of course, it was the British crew who I thought might win gold, and with Denmark bronze in the Olympics, and of course the British crew that got the silver. So the South Africans, this time with two blades each, will progress through to the final. We don't know who will face them yet. It could be Britain's national double, the home crew of Collins and Walton from Leander, or the Americans, but the South Africans lie in wait, and Oxford exhausted. They have raced the world champions, and that's what they came here to do.